Wait.
Wait.
What? I already clicked it already.
Five,
Clicked it.
4, 3.
Oh no! You know what? Twitch gets the scuffed version. I'm
We're
so sorry.
live. Hello,
Hello, everyone.
Hi. We can't hear you guys right now, unfortunately, but hello. What a
Hello.
crowd. What a room.
Oh
Hello.
my god.
Oh my lord. Oh my lordy lord. Welcome to Panel Room 1 on June 18th at 1:15 PDT. Hello, OFFKAI. Let's get it. Woo! My voice is cracking.
It's alright. It's alright.
All good. All good.
So thank you for coming to today's panel. Not really lessons, but more in terms of graphic design, what we do in the community. Touching on topics such as like what's involved in it, the design process, and also how can you get started as someone who may not be part of this hobby yet but wants to get into it, and much more stuff like that. And we'll be leaving Q&A towards the end. So if you guys were to have any questions at all, please save it towards the end, and let's get started with everything. Okay, guys, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in.
Let's
Okay.
get it. Let's go.
Yay! Right, for the first slide, it's about me. My name is Ori, short for Orihime, not from Bleach, but from the cookie itself. You can find me on Twitter as OrihimeVT, find me on Twitch as Orihime. You can see my commission info on VGen or on my card. Now, the type of services that I offer is logo branding, schedules, and overlays. I've worked with clients such as Nisisanji, Hololive ID, Prism Project, Skara, Lily Pichu, and many, many other amazing people. And I'm very grateful to have these opportunities. My saying is that prune juice is my favorite beverage, and designing provides me enough funds to spend on Valorant skins. If you ever see me on Twitter about Valorant skins, you know where I got the money from. Thank you very much for your service.
Everyone commission her so she can buy more Valorant skins. Thank you.
All right, Saki, leaving it up to you.
Oh shit. Okay.
People smile. People smile.
People. Hi everyone, I'm Saki. Some may know me as Saki.exe. My socials on Twitter can be exesaki, or if you're going to my work account, SakiXStudio. I stream on Twitch under exesaki as well. I do quite a bit of services, basically anything visual you can think of: logo branding, overlays, screens, panels, alerts, music videos, lore videos, and I also do live TD rigging. Some of my more well-known clients are Kiara from Hollow Live, Val, Sens, Vienna, and Misutail, and I've worked with many more. You just haven't seen some of them yet.
Commission her. Commission Saki.
No,
Yeah,
no,
give
please.
her money. Give her money.
No, please. I'm so overworked. Please don't.
All right, Sheena, take it
Oh
away.
no, it's my turn. Right, so hi, I'm Sheena Ray, or you can shortly call me Sheena. I am the founder and lead program manager of Iris Studio. I'm sure some of you have heard of it, which I started with a close bunch of friends 1 year ago. And you can find me on Sheena Ray on Twitter and Sheena_Ray with one I on Twitch. And I mainly do overlays, mostly animated overlays, because I started with After Effects, like not with Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, but just After Effects. Even I design on After Effects. Very weird.
Very good.
So I do. So I do like stinger transitions too, and I do schedules and illustrations, but more on the overlays and stinger transitions because they are much more fun to do. Some of my clients I work with is very familiar from Nijisanji En, Kaneko Lumi from Face Connect, Bao, and Akuma Nimene. And for me, I started with 16GB of RAM, and I got 32GB of RAM. And After Effects still said it's not enough, so I got 64GB of RAM, and it's still not enough. And I'm currently at 128GB of RAM, and still not enough. Yes, that's all.
Sheena said, "Double it and give it to me."
Double and give it to me. Yes,
Alright,
let's
now
move on.
moving on. So let's have a talk about stream assets. More of commonly used assets that people use for streaming, for VTubers, but also for streamers alike. So the first one you'll see on the list would be logos, general branding of what you want to portray as a character, as your personality kind of thing. And then for overlay, Sheena and Saki.
Oops, sorry. So
Move
basically, overlays are usually like PNGs or WebM if you're animated. This graphics overlaid on top of your window capture or display capture. It's basically it shows your branding, shows more professionalism in your entire stream. Sometimes it comes in chatting overlay where if a VTuber is just chatting or just having some special events, so they use a chatting overlay. Live overlay if like they're playing games most of the times or doing like art, anything else. And sometimes you might have special overlays such as like raid overlays. So in the scenario where it's not too common, but for example, if a VTuber like Ori raids me, and then for me, I will shift my entire scene to a raid overlay, so to introduce myself. So that's something I've only gotten from a few clients, but that's raid overlay. And there's also like karaoke overlays and more other custom overlays. So yeah, that's practically overlays. On to you, Saki.
Okay, I think you covered all there is for overlays, so I'll get to the scenes. Scenes are usually what you guys would see in like before a stream starts. So like your starting screen, your be right back screen, when like people gotta go to the restroom or whatever the situation may be, or also like an ending screen and offline screen. For scenes, it's usually some type of animated picture, video. Some people do like a super cool looping like game animation. Some people can just do like a puppeted art with some minor graphics. Some people can just do just straight up art, just no movement. It depends, but that's usually it's less well known, but you often see it more than you think. And I'm sending it back over to you, Sheena, for stingers.
Right, so I think because we're going into detail, I think Ori we can shift onto the slides. Because we are talking about the streams assets. So this one is the logo, which Ori was talking about, and the next one is the overlays. These are some like of the overlays. The top overlay is done by me, and the bottom one is done by Saki. Yes.
That's
And then next one, that's you. Next one is the scenes, which Saki has already sort of explained. So sometimes you get two different versions. One is like an illustrated version, which is, for example, the one at the top. Clients tend to have a illustration, or if they add on with live 2D rigging animation, so it becomes a more fluid kind of starting or scene animations. Or you can have pure design, which is something that I've designed at the bottom. And next, I'll be talking about stinger transition. So stinger transitions are basically, where you transition from one screen to another screen, basically from scene A to scene B. So if I'm changing from chatting overlay, I'm going to shift on to live overlay. That's what the stinger transition form. Usually it's 2 to 4 seconds long, but for my case, I designed for around 5 to 8 seconds long, because I just imagine like if you're doing a transition, you sort of want to grab a snack if you're a streamer, and then just get a gulp of water before you sort of like move on. So that's basically a stinger transition. And yes, moving on to the next one, back to you.
So to go on logos again, I wanted to show off some things that we have done, both Saki and I, as we do specialize in it, is that there are different types of logo brandings that you may have seen, both for streamers, both for VTubers, but also in real life. Logo brandings are what captures your eye first, and that's also why some things are so expensive, because it has the logo on it. You see bricks that sell for like $125 just because they have Supreme on it, or you see stuff that are like $1,000 because it has Burberry on it. Logos are what is captured for a brand's identity, the brand's concept. What are they going for? And so the type of logos you typically see for streamers and for VTubers are the illustrative kind, the ones with graphics and the ones that are very bold and bright, to more of text-based, which you can see above me, Domo Ariga Thanks, done by Saki, which is a fantastic demonstration of text-based logo. So let's move on to the next slides afterwards. Saki?
Okay, so for alerts, I think usually people keep it pretty simple, but if you have the budget for it, then people will come to any designer and be like, hey, can I get some cool alerts design, which is an event keyed by either a new follow, new subscribe, donation, host, raid, whatever you name it. Some people can keep it simple, and it's usually like a chibi art of some kind, and it could be animated by someone else and then given to us, and we can spice it up a little bit with some graphics. Or sometimes, given my case, some people don't have art at all, and they'll come to me with free reign and be like, can you make something so that it matches cohesively with my branding? So in this case here, I did this for Derivacat. She had a music theme, so tried to keep it up with her character design and a little bit of a hint of a music sheet in the back, just to keep the whole cohesiveness of the music archivist theme going.
On to you, Ori.
Okay, next slide. We have schedule. So this is something that all three of us do. Sheena has more recently started to incorporate schedules into her services. Now with schedules, I feel that they were more popularized by corporations, and that is why a lot more people do tend to go towards schedules now. Now, what are schedules used for? It's a timetable where you can figure out what your streamer is doing, when they're doing it, where they're doing it, and just to provide as an update to your streamer, for your streamer, right? And so some examples you see here is a schedule done by Sheena for Veer of Misanji. You have Tiara schedule right there, done by Sheena. And then behind me, you have one done for another indie VTuber, Fim. And so there's a lot of different types of schedules that people might go towards that are more specialized or customized for their own personality slash OC, you can say. So it's fun to have. It's very nice to have. Now moving on to the last asset, we have panels. That's going back to Saki.
Okay. For
Throw
panels.
everything towards you.
Oh no, this is Twitch. Okay. For panels, I think if you are a well-known Twitch user, you know what panels are. It's usually found underneath a streamer's stream. Usually some people can have it pretty basic with just like a title, like your about, your rules, your donation, whatever the kind, and usually there's a description underneath it. You keep it plain, then yeah, it's cool, but then some people like to spice it up, so then they can get some sort of graphics for it. And what the graphics does, one, it catches your eye, two, again, it keeps your branding cohesive overall, and then three, it basically is a very in-your-face type of way summary of what the description is going to be about. So you just get, instead of text, you get fancy text with maybe some images or whatever the kind.
Awesome! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now let's move on to the slide afterwards. I'm sorry if our VTuber studios kind of freeze a little bit here and there. My connection is not the best, unfortunately. So moving on to the next slide, the next section, we have designing for VTubers from both a client perspective and from a designer's perspective, where we're going to touch upon the themes, the font choice, design element, and color palette, all of which again brings together this cohesive brand identity. What do you want people to see? What do you want people to feel when they first see you? And we're going to go off first with themes. And Sheena, I will leave this to you to talk about.
So there are many design aspects. I would say, like, if you are going to request a designer to do something, but one of the main things that I feel that VTubers or any clients in general should start with is the theme. The theme can be anything. So any of these words that you see can actually be part of a theme. So, and then you also need to sort of like describe your character personality. So sometimes, most of the times when clients come to us, they provide us information like, "Hi, I am a Japanese big booba fox VTuber."
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that's yes, that's one, and then maybe like there's some like modern aspect or uh, cyberpunk aspect. So those are just general themes that actually give the designer more ideas to develop inside their head. And so one of the main things is, if you are a VTuber, you will need to provide a team, basically a basic description, or usually one sentence. One sentence is not enough. Probably just a paragraph to describe your VTuber, and then the team, the story and lore. Not 13 pages, please. And then and then that's one. And then from the designer's perspective, if your client doesn't really provide you anything, you should sort of like ask them, what is your team? And if they do not know what team they are, technically they should most of the time based on their character design. But so this is where you can sort of do like a personality test. You can just give a collage of images and tell them to pick which ones that you like. So from these pictures that the client has chosen, you can actually make an entire mood board out of it, and from there you can start working on the team aspect for design. So yes, that's mainly for team. Saki and Ori, do you have anything to talk about teams? Saki, Ori, Saki, Ori. Hello?
Uh,
I'm being left alone. I'm being left alone. Bye.
oh no, go back. um, yeah, I think you basically
You go
covered.
first,
Yeah, I think you covered most of it. The theme just overall gives us a general idea of how you want your product to look. We can always go into more specifics of it when we're working with you. Like, we can send you like work in progress, and you can be like, hey, I like this idea instead of that. That goes into like the more very narrow side, but otherwise a theme gives you like a general idea of what vibe you want. Anything you want to add, Ori?
Yeah, of course. Especially when it comes to what is it called? If you're just starting out and you actually don't really have a character reference, or you don't have a character design that you want to base off yet, having an idea of what you would like to see helps a lot with building your identity from the start, right? And I think that especially for me, when it comes to what I do, because I don't have such wide of a service profile, right? Is that having a theme to start with allows me to base off the next few slides that we're going to be showing you. And that really helps with the process, honestly. And yeah, so let's move on to the next one, which is going to be fun to talk about. And it's going to be for font types. Da-da-da-da. Because font types are so important when it comes to looking at things visually. It's really important for those who are viewing, and those who are the ones who are working on it for others to view. I'm gonna leave this up to Sheena again to talk about the different serif types you see on top.
What? Okay, anyway, so I think if we go a bit more into typography, there are many different types of typefaces. So the serif typefaces, sans serif typefaces, script typefaces, and a monospace. There's a misspelling on the fourth one, but please ignore that. But so basically, the more general ones, I'm speaking from an overlay designer perspective, the more commonly used ones are serif typefaces or sans serif typefaces. Because sans serif typefaces tends to be much more easier to be viewed from an audience perspective or viewer's perspective. So, for example, if you take a look at the bottom, the two images, there are two separate schedules. One is done by Ori, the bottom left, and then bottom right is done by Saki. So you can see on Saki's schedule, you can realize that the words are much more easier to see, because that's actually using a sans serif typeface, and compared to Ori's using a serif typeface, which is slightly harder to see. But there's no wrong with it, because typefaces also links to the theme of the client or the VTuber themselves. So if you tend to have a more rounded design aspect, basically if your if the designer designs your theme in such a way all the designs are more rounded edges, there's no sharp edges or anything, you tend to realize they use sans serif or even more like font typefaces like Quicksand, Nunito, Muli, because they are much more easier to see and they're slightly much more rounded. But when it comes to serif typefaces, the serif typefaces, no, I'm starting with my words. Serif typefaces, you tend to have more, for example, royalty theme, oriental theme. They tend to use serif typefaces because it looks a little old, but it gives off the very very traditional vibes. So things such as like Cormorant, Garamond, and Playfair Display are commonly used. And for script typefaces, usually is combined with sans serif typefaces for some designs that are more, in a sense, also rounded too. But it's rarely seen in the community unless usually. Okay, sorry, let me think about it for a second. So usually, designers will tend to design using at least 2 fonts. Sometimes they go be ambitious and design with 3 fonts. And so sometimes the third font can actually be the script typeface. So yeah, so this basically the general applications for fonts or typefaces if you're more into design. Yes, I'll pass this on to Ori because I feel that Ori uses more, dabbles more into the fonts and typefaces because she's a logo designer.
Yeah. Okay, and going off from what Sheena said, how you look at font types matters a lot when it comes to how you want characters to be perceived. The most common types of fonts that you're going to see on your PC pre-installed would be, for example, Comic Sans, Calibri, and also Arial, which are 3 examples of sans serif typefaces. They tend to be more rounded, less of the the stylistic like edges that you see in serif typeface, and you can more commonly associate them with neutral, fun, bubbly, and open personality, like open character. Also, for example, if I were to work on a logo that's for a really cute bunny VTuber, and they tell me that they are very hyperactive, they're very open and fun, then I would go towards more of a font like that. Whereas if you come to me and you're saying that my theme is more gothic or more elegant, more around like knights or medieval, then I'll go towards serif typeface, and those are more commonly associated with Times New Roman, for example. And I would use that type of font for that type of style. Script typeface tends to be more almost like handwritten. So you don't really see them used as much because at times, if you look at it from far away, it is less legible compared to the other typefaces. But they are stylistically meant for different type of purposes, such as again making something appear more fancy, more elegant, or just simply to fill up space. Sometimes, and there's a lot of ways you can use it, but you don't really see it too much in the VTuber sphere. Istaki, is there anything else you wanted to add on to it, considering that you also work a lot with font styles?
Just from my own experience, I feel that in terms of legibility, we tend to lean more for sans serif typeface just because it's kind of similar to Comic Sans, where Comic Sans is a well-known, like very easy to read font, despite how goofy it may look. Like usually pretty bolded, rounded fonts are very easy to read. It's very in your face. So usually if you want something that is very legible, quick to look at, quick to just pick up information, you want to go for that rounded sans serif look. If you want like a more edgy look, stylized, then I would go for the serif typeface. As for the other two, like the script typeface, I feel like those are more commonly used as a second font, as Sheena said. It's more for like a in the back stylized type of fonts, especially for logos. You'll have like a main font like sans serif, and then maybe you'll do like a fancy handwriting font thing on top just to make it look fancy or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I find it really hard to work with script actually, just because like just what's the thing called? I can't really change it too much, you know? Like it's hard to change.
Yeah.
It's so nice as it is. It's hard to incorporate it into a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like usually if you dabble with sans serif serif typefaces, you have like medium, regular, light, extra
Yeah.
bold, and
Yes,
stuff. But then when you work on
it's
script
just
typeface, you have like
script is just very
regular.
in your face. It's just so in your face.
Regular.
You have to balance everything else around script.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so hard to work with script, honestly. But it's fun when it's really nice when it works out. But when you try so hard to make it work, and the 50 type fonts that you found that are script based don't work out, it's
Yeah.
my brain explodes.
Just use Google Fonts. Just use Google Fonts.
Adobe fonts.
Google fonts, Adobe fonts are the best places to look for. If you want to look for commercial usage free, Adobe fonts and Google fonts are probably the best places for you to go. For sure, for sure.
Agree.
I like them a lot. Yeah,
think-
there's a lot of good ones for any language, honestly.
I think we were so close to designing our slides with Comic Sans.
We
I
should
think
have
that
just
was
done it.
either
Like
Ori's or
this,
Saki.
We
I think
should have
was
just done
either
it.
Ori's
I'm
or
telling.
Saki's idea to design this entire design panel.
We
using
should have done
Comic
it to
Sans.
make a point.
Yeah, and honestly, you know that one meme that was like graphic design is my passion? That could have been us.
That was us. What do you mean?
We use like rainbow characters for each individual characters. Graphic design is my passion.
Yes.
But
Alright,
yeah, I
let's move
think,
on.
Yes,
Oh.
that more or less
go on.
covers fonts and typefaces, so we can move on to the next one.
Yes, ma'am. Alright. Design elements. My big head's covering both of them at the bottom, but left and right. There you go. Alright, you guys take it off.
Saki, thank you.
Huh. Design elements. Usually, I find it very rare that a client will come to me with a specific design element that they like. Usually, I think in my own personal experience, design elements are often pulled either from like a mood board or a theme that the client gives us. If not, then worst case, we tend to go after your character design. So whatever your design looks like, if we find something that stands out, most of the time we're taking it and we're slapping it on the overlay, schedule, logo, whatever you call it.
Exactly.
See, you see that ribbon on your VTuber model? Yeah, that's going to the design.
Yeah, that's my
element.
branding.
Yeah, that's ours now. Oh, you have like one single snowflake on your ear as an earring? That's our design now. We're taking
Yeah, that's our design now.
Yeah, that's gonna be the background.
You have some keychain that has like a single butterfly on it. That is on your logo now.
Entire theme is all butterfly from now on. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. Again, this really ties back to theme. There's with each type of theme you may have, there's always going to be elements that are related to it. Like you can take for example, if a VTuber has a very like what's the thing called, like icy snow, then you think snowflakes, you think icicles, you think blue, white, gray, that kind of style, right? Those are going to be your elements that we can work with. Whereas if you have like an example that is if you're a cat-based VTuber, right? Bells, cattails, cat ears, those are elements that we can all take and use in some sort of way into whatever you want from us.
So, for example, if you look at some of the, I think one of my designs, so if you look from the left, you see this pink, purplish, maroon diamond design. That's actually a design overlay that I designed for Vermilion from Nijisan GEN. So that specific thing was actually taken from his pocket design. So if you look at Vermilion's design on his left chest, yeah, I think that's the right word. The left chest, you will see like this pouch design. So that's actually something that I took from as a design element. So technically, most of the times our clients don't usually give us they won't be very specific. They'll give like some things like, oh, I want it to be minimal, or I want clouds, or something like that. So this is very small prompts that clients usually give. They don't usually give very specific ones. If you can give specific ones to your designer, oh my goodness, you're amazing.
A saint.
A saint. We love you. Come back anytime. Always open.
But
Kiss
yes,
your feet, kiss your feet.
So there's sort of like pros and cons to it. So from like a client's perspective, if you actually give like very specific design elements that you want your designer to sort of achieve or do in the design, they will expect that thing to be there. So if it comes off a little wrong or it doesn't look like how they imagine, sometimes you have to go back to doing revisions. Very, very common. Or whereas compared to a designer, to a client that is not really sure what they want, but it sort of give you some keywords from themes, or for example, if they choose like cottagecore, they just give you the themes cottagecore. So you just imagine like vintage houses, leaf, ferns, vines, kind of thing. So these are all actually just design elements that you can sort of collectively collect and then input into your like visual library, like in your head basically. So next time when you come across another similar client with cottagecore or nature, like where to start from already. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And in general, it's completely okay for you not to know what you want immediately, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help you expand on that and to create, the end finalized, branding that you want to see. So it's always a back and forth kind of thing with both clients and designers. And again, it's okay for you to not know. We'll work together with you for that.
Yes. I think
Yes.
that's
All right.
pretty much what we covered for design elements. But if of course if there's any question, you can ask us after the panel during our Q&A.
Because we're nervous and we're shitting our pants right now. So let's go on to the next slide.
We're 1 minute away from the restroom.
All right, Ori.
Palette. Can I can't talk about this because my model is monochrome. I literally don't have colors because I don't know how to
I think
color.
we are both we are all monochrome. What do you mean?
If you turn my saturation to 0 on OBS, I'm still the same thing. Okay, you guys can talk about this. I'll leave this to you guys.
Yes. So I think Ori could actually talk more about color palettes. Ori and Saki can talk more about color palettes because they do logo designs. So I feel that this from my perspective, because I don't actually do logo design, but from my perspective, I feel like you need to be very careful with the way you choose colors and taking color palettes from the character designs. Sometimes if the character designer for the client is really nice, they will actually display like at the side of the character illustration, they will have like four circles, and each of them will have like a individual colors for people to color pick, for people to for artists to draw it or designers to pick color from it. But in a scenario where you don't usually get that from character designers, then that's where Ori and Saki will explain.
Thank you, Saki.
Huh? What? Okay. Just for color palette sake, like majority of the time, I'm sure Ori knows, we pull it from your original character or VTuber. In the case that we don't have that, I think the general rule for color palettes, it's usually around 4 to 5 colors. Mainly, specifically, very important that you don't have too many colors, clashing colors, I should say. The rule of thumb is the majority of your colors should be somewhat neutral, like black, white, gray, or some sort of like tiny hue shift in that is safe, but nothing too saturated for your dominant color. And then whatever color you want to be like the thing that pops out on your character or your design, that would be your accent color. So like for me, most of my character here is black and white, and then the main popping character, as you can see, this bright neon green.
Yes, I wonder what accent color Saki is.
I wonder.
I wonder.
Yes.
I wonder.
I wonder. In
What she said.
in some occasions, you might have a very sporadic palette, like the one that is behind Ori's head. In some cases, those do work. It's very rare, but again, if you don't have a character already set up with color designs, then we are here to help with that. I would hope know what colors work with each other. So when given a theme, we also can come up with a rough color palette to work with most of the time, right, Ori?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I know how to design.
I hope we all
yeah, I
do.
know how to design too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what's
I-
this panel for.
I
YouTube's my best friend.
Google Image is my best friend.
And this is also pretty helpful for when you're setting up your VTuber in the first place. There are sites that actually help you with finding out, pre-existing palettes that look good together. So there are some examples on the bottom right-hand corner. Canva color-based.app, which is actually a recommendation from Sheena, which showcases like the different hues of the palette. It shows like the saturations. It shows the hex code, other colors that look good with it. So it's a really great way for you to also base your initial design, like VTuber design, from. And if you're always unsure about what goes with which, you can always find the color on, using your Photoshop, like color pick it, find the hex text, which is the 6-digit hashtag, and you can search from there of what looks good with that together. But a lot of ways that you can figure out what looks good. Just ask, just search. It's difficult, but it gets easier the more you try it out, and that's something that all three of us still struggle with, obviously.
When
Next
in doubt,
page, thank you.
when in doubt, Google Image, 2 colors, color palette, and smiles.
Exactly. When in doubt, just message your friend every 5 minutes asking, "Does this look good? Does this look good? Does this look good?"
Is this okay?
And
Is
I'm
this
sure.
okay? What? A or B?
So if you're a client with like if a character design contains like 4 or more colors, go to Ori and Saki. I only do with 2.
I will close my DMs. Thank you.
I think in that case, if you have like that much of an overload with colors, I think that's when you have to go into like color values and contrast instead of the colors.
What she said.
Yeah. What she said.
Yeah. When in doubt, if
Saki.
saturation are all the same, you go for darker and lighter, and you pray it works. Yep.
Just pray. Just pray.
Yeah, you just pray.
All right. Now moving on. The screen's a little bit covery, but we'll read off what it says on our side. This is going to be the process for clients and the timeline for clients, in which we start the design, start the commission to when we provide the final stuff, and then we all have different types of process that we go through, just because we all do different services. And to start off for me, since I'm only doing really primarily one type of service, which is logo design, consult with the client. You ask the client what they are looking for. If they don't know, we brainstorm. What's your theme? What kind of font do you think is associated with your model? Is there anything that you feel like you want to add on? What is some elements that you like? Some elements you like from other works that I've done, that kind of thing. And then you do the sketching and the drafting. And then something that you always have to do is that you should always update your client after any major revision or any thoughts that you may have. That's what I do. And then finalizing it, making sure the client likes what they see, and putting it onto different overlays and putting on different backgrounds so they can see how it looks like on different types of social media they may have it on. For example, your logo may look very different on a YouTube banner as opposed to a YouTube what's the thing called, like the logo on the bottom right hand corner of your videos. It may look differently on your Twitch overlays and stuff like that. So it's always good to explore those options with your client when you can, and then you deliver it. What is your process like, Sheena?
Because I mainly do animated overlays, so I will have to use like a few softwares. So most of the time I'll use Figma and then After Effects. So the main thing first, because this like timeline is actually based on Ori's process, but it's generally a very normal process for designers. So for example, the first thing that begins with is actually the main consultation with client. That's where they give you all their references, their transparent PNG of their model, mood board and stuff like that. And then that's where you start. From there, once you feel like you're confident, you've gotten all the information from the client, that's where you start with your sketching or drafting. For me, when I'm designing overlays, I like to. This is very primitive, very traditional, but I take like an actual sketchbook and take an actual pencil and then just like throw down ideas into sketchbooks. And then afterwards, I will bring the sketches into Clip Studio Paint or Adobe Photoshop to sort of like do a color blocking or value blocking to just simply draft out how I imagine or envision the composition of the overlays to be. And that's where from there you can actually start updating the client. So take note, updating is actually an iterative process. So that means once you update, the client doesn't like it, revise, go back to sketching again. Don't like it, go back, revise. That's something that you don't want to go into too many times when it comes to revision. So that's why I think designers try. From designer's perspective, it's always good to request for all the information beforehand. So compared to, for example, a client slipping to a designer's Twitter DM and asking, "Hey, I love your overlay. Could you design for me?" And then they just give like, "Oh, I just want a traditional Japanese design." And then you're like, "Huh? How do I, like?" There's too little things to work on. So from the beginning, if you are a designer or your client, just give everything you can of what you imagine. If you're not sure, that's where your consultation between the client and between the designer is very important to make sure that the both of you are on the same page. Because sometimes if you're not on the same page, that's where you bump into many revisions. And trust me when we say the three of us do not like revisions.
Our mental goes down every single time.
Mental boom. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No.
so this line it's a very like normal process, but it doesn't show like how many times we break down. Yeah.
Physically, by the way.
Like,
Mentally and physically.
Mentally, physically, emotionally.
So basically, after the sketch and drafting, we'll move on to like something like the finalization. Finalization is where, the client feels that it's good enough, and you need to make sure that do you have any other revisions or any other changes before you decide, because you are not the one that decides the finalization of the deliverables. It's the client that decides the finalization. So you need to make sure, always make sure and communicate with the client that this is the finalized. Then you do like some cleanup and touch up with your designs, and that's where you deliver. Yeah, so that's on my side. So at the bottom, actually, you can't see right now on where I am, is some ways to communicate or share your ideas with. So that first and foremost is Twitter DMs, the most slightly informal way. And then there's email and Discord. And then when it comes to idea sharing, there's Google Docs, Slides, Pinterest, or even Notion. So, share your ideas and how you want your designs to be. This is from a client's perspective. Yes. So yes, this is my process. I will throw this to Saki.
Oh shit. My process is a lot less iterative, formal, as Sheena and Ori even. For me, a lot of it goes into the main consultation. It's basically I come at you and I tell you, give me every references that you have, want, or need. Some clients will send me like multiple overlays, multiple logos, and be like, I like this specific thing about this, and I would like it in my logo. And then I'll be like, cool, I'll add that. For sketching and drafting, I don't sketch traditionally. I also don't sketch it in.
I think I'm the only one.
I don't sketch in general.
Oh my god. Oh, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Okay.
Because I know Ori like sketches her logos, right? You do like rough. Yeah. See, I don't do any of that because I work basically entirely in After Effects. So I would just straight up design in After Effects. In the past, I usually I had a bad habit of just completing a whole, let's say, logo or overlay and then showing the client. But as of recently, I've cut it down more, so where I'll do only the beginning stages, like either making the silhouette of the logo or doing the basic layout and like color gradients. and send it to the client and see if that's okay. And then I start adding details and then asking if that's okay, back and forth until it's to a point where they like it. And then cleanup should be easy. By then, everything should be clean. It's just if they like it or not, I just export and then I give it to them.
Yeah, I
That's
think
about
that,
it.
that works too. Yeah, that's pretty much about it for for the process for clients. But yes, of course, if you have any questions regarding the process or any other questions, you can just ask afterwards during our Q&A. Right, back to you, Ori, if you want to move on.
Okay. So this is a process for designers and the timeline of which we again work, but more specifically, including like how we use certain things during certain periods. So personally, for me, my brain is small. I cannot learn stuff very easily. Illustrator is too difficult. Figma, I just knew about it a few months back. I have never even touched Adobe FX in my life. The first time I heard about it was through these two right here, which I still find absolutely nuts, by the way, because After Effects is, I don't think anyone before them, before knowing them, didn't know anyone who used it for like logo. Like,
Wait, really?
I've never met anyone else, no one else who did it besides you two.
Correct.
I have my grievances against Photoshop and other applications. I will not speak further on it.
Yes, I will not speak for them.
I understand. I will say though, Clip Studio Paint is not primarily for. It's not typically used for like professional. Actually no, it is, but it's more for like illustration and for art. But I use that to start off a lot of my work, then moving on to Photoshop. So those are the only two that I use. Unfortunately, they are paid applications, but I think they work very well. What do you guys use, you crazy folks?
I mean, we both use After Effects.
Yeah, that's why I call you crazy. Oh my god.
So I think for me, I really started with After Effects because I started designing just like last year, in last April 2022. And the first thing I did was not like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint. It was actually After Effects, and I started designing everything in After Effects. Because for those that do not really know, so usually when it comes to designing and then animating, usually the common or the general designers would design everything on Adobe Illustrator first, and then after they shift and import the files all the way to After Effects to do the animations. Because, well, Illustrator is just for designing completely because you have all the tools and functions for that. And After Effects is mainly, it's not really for designing. You can design it if you want to cry, but After Effects is mainly just for animating. But for me, my entire process goes from, from traditional sketchbook first, but afterwards I go to Figma. I'll go to Figma to design and then use a plugin called AUX and then import the vectors directly to After Effects, and from them I animate. But if it comes to illustrative designs, where sometimes you need vines and everything, technically you can draw them out and all. Sometimes you can take from the Clip Studio assets because some of them are commercially available to be used. So sometimes you take and export them as PNG or PSD files and then import them to After Effects, and then from there, that's my process for designing in general for overlays. And then from there, I animate and let Media Encoder render for 24 hours and cry.
I felt that so.
You guys
But
don't
yes.
understand. I wake up at 2 a.m. and I see them like, I have to render this, and it's for like 3 hours, and I'm still waiting. I'm like, oh, I see. I close my PNG and I close my PC and I go to bed, and they're still rendering in the background.
Look, I'm not kidding. I have 128 gigabytes, and you're telling me I need to render for 4 hours? Yeah. So
Yeah.
So Saki, what about you?
I'm a lot less complicated because I was first a AMV editor before a designer, so I was always an After Effects user. So I primarily do everything in After Effects unless I can't. So I'll design, animate, I'll do everything in After Effects if I can. And then I'll use Photoshop only in certain cases, like making schedules PSD for when clients need it, just to rename layers and making sure it's legible for whoever uses it. And then the only other application I would use is Media Encoder for, of course, MP4, WebM, all that stuff. But otherwise, I am a ride or die After Effects user. In shame.
I don't think you guys understand as well, because if I'm gonna move us real quick. No one out of all three of us uses Adobe Illustrator. It's just...
I will touch it when a client asks me for the AI file.
files.
Until then,
Other than
it is not on my PC.
Never.
No, I hate it.
I
skipped
tried it
Adobe
once.
Illustrator and jumped to and I jumped to Figma. It's like, nope, I'm not touching Illustrator. I'm just gonna go to Figma straight.
We didn't even know Figma had PowerPoint presentation until like 4 days ago. That was a discovery, to say the least. It's been awesome using Figma.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes. Shall we move on to the next slide? I think.
Yeah.
But
We're
is
actually-
it already 1 hour? Oh my goodness, that was
Oh,
fast.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We're delayed. It's fine.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Here talks about resources that we use for inspiration. Again, I do apologize. You're not able to see it, but Sheena, if you can just read off the few that you.
Sheena's knocked out on the side.
Thank you.
No, I'm trying to let them see.
I
Okay,
know.
So basically, this is just for both. Actually, it's not just for designers, but it's also for clients too. You can use this, the very default one. They use Pinterest, and based on the algorithm from each image that you select or press, you go in even further to having more of the similar design that you're looking for. So Pinterest is very useful, like really useful. So it's best to always categorize and have as many boards as you have, so that when there comes a time where a client requests for something much more complicated, you already have categorized so many things that you can actually narrow down your design like process in general. Then there's Behance. Not many designers that I know use Behance, but technically you can use Behance because it's not just like images. You see like motion designs, UI, UX. Very applicable for some services such as overlays. There's also Dribble too. Dribble is also more mainly for web, mobile design references. Then of course there's your Twitter bookmarks. I'm sure you guys bookmark so many Twitter posts, but you guys don't like or retweet the posts. So yeah, Twitter bookmarks. And then lastly, you can't see, but it says your own imagination. I can't explain how much this is so important, because I think there's so many designers in this community, but some that actually really stand out in general are the ones that really push their creativity and their imaginations to the next level. So for example, when you use references, you don't actually, for example, if you take a reference from Pinterest, you don't actually want to copy everything. You want to see how you can use the designs that's on the reference and make it into something that's on your own and fits with the client's description. So it's actually a lot of experimentation when it comes to using references. So always really great to experiment in general. Find sometimes you might be feeling the commission grind and all. If for clients, sometimes you realize your designer is just I'm creatively burnt out. So that's actually where they are trying to figure out more ideas for your designs. So yeah, Ori and Saki, what do you all think about using references as designers?
I think for references, I think the hard part about our side of designing is when we look at references that you give us, it's not copying. We shouldn't really be copying things. It's more so how do we recreate this vibe, this mood, this overall theme layout that you're presenting to us without taking all of the individual items that you did just give us. If you gave me a room and told me to recreate it with the same theme, I shouldn't be getting the same bed, the same desk, the same chair. I should be able to get other types of bed, chairs, tables that gives off the same vibe, If that makes sense.
So sometimes when you submit references to your designers, you need to make sure you need to like the way you word it. Like for example, you like this specific overlay from this other designer, and you like this specific like design element from the designer. So in a way, you shouldn't word it in such a way. You shouldn't word and tell your designer that, oh, I want this exact design, because we will come into a dilemma. Designers will come into a dilemma, especially the newer designers. They'll tend to actually, sometimes reference it slightly a little heavily, and that's where sometimes dispute comes into play. So you need to make, when you as a client, you need to just tell them like, oh, I am very like inspired by this design. I was wondering if you can use it and work out something with it. It's a lot better than telling them to exactly use a specific design element. Yeah. What about you, Ori?
Oh, actually, we are cutting really close on time. In fact, I think we're just about to an hour. So I think that we're gonna skip the next part that we have, which is talking about the journey. We're more than happy to discuss it on our Twitch if you guys were to ever come by, and listen on anything. If you have any questions, do we have time for like a few questions if anyone were to have it, or is it over? Also, I say that, but I actually can't hear. I would appreciate a thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm so sorry. Is that a thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm blind. Don't ask me.
I can't see it.
Hold on.
Vertical
let me
screens
see,
are
let me
not
see.
good.
Wait, thumbs up or thumbs down? Someone. I can't. I see no thumbs.
See
Where are the
thumbs?
thumbs at?
Thumbs up. I see one thumbs up. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay. And second question, are you guys okay? Those in the panel room, okay with being really big on our screen right now? Are you guys okay with that? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Okay. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Hello. Oh my god. Look at everyone in all their glory. Oh, before I forget, one last thing is that because of OFFKAI being so kind as to have invited us here, we're actually releasing a raffle for a full branding, and that's going to be including logo and schedule from me, an overlay set from Saki, and a stinger transition from Sheena. So you'll get an entire set from all three of us. There's going to be one winner. We'll post it on Twitter afterwards. And it's a follow and retweet as always. But for those specifically in the panel room right now, I'm looking at you guys. If you attended the panel in person, you take a photo of whatever you see in front of you. You commented on the post that I'm going to be posting.
Take
You
a photo of us
receive
right now.
Yeah. You receive one bonus entry, and that's going to be, added on. But I hope that you guys would be interested and would like to interact and join this. And we're really excited to work with you guys. And we will do our best. We will do our very, very, very best. Now, back to the camera. I'm actually going to turn on the audio sound. Sorry, let me just make sure I have this on. And I guess we have time for three questions. Is that good enough? 3? Thumbs up. I can hear you guys now. Yeah. Oh crap.
Thumbs down.
What?
We do not have time. I don't think.
Oh, yep. Perfect. I'm hearing doubles from my side. I'm sorry. Mhm. Yeah. Sheena, Saki, can you answer?
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, one question.
I still haven't muted.
Okay. One question. Okay.
That's a good
So
question.
Saki, Sheena, Yeah, that is a really good question. How would you guys begin going about that? Because it's something that we actually face a lot when it comes to commission work too. Because
Uh,
there's so many amazing themes and amazing concepts, right? And there's only so many ways that sometimes you can work around things. But again, as what Sheena said earlier, I think the best way is to work out of the box. Like, how can we take certain elements of certain themes and put them together to fit what you want? How would you guys do that?
Sorry, I'm gonna say I forgot to unmute the audience. So, Ori, could you repeat the
Oh
question for
my
me?
god.
Did the fast one just
Uh,
again. My bad.
Okay.
Saki, you
Yeah.
yeah, Saki, you got it.
So the question was, what if a client comes to you with a clashing theme versus the vibe that they want to come across? So let's say they want a tech theme, but they also want like a comfy vibe for the design.
Oh, okay. So for my side, I actually have one recently, which is a cottagecore. But at the same time, the client wants an office design too. So this is where you try to. For me, I find I had to do a lot of reference because it was my first time doing cottagecore first. But what I did was I had a mood board for cottagecore. I had a mood board for office team, and what I do is I did a lot of like sketching. So like, what if I have a cottagecore background with all the vines and ferns and stuff like that. But for the chat box design, I design it in such a way I'm using like a very clean UI office kind of vibes. So for me, it's a lot of experimentation that really lies on experimentation because sometimes you just can't find the clash of themes that you want on the internet. So that's where really your imagination comes into play. That's for me. Saki and Ori, what do you guys think?
For me, I think the theme. I would use the theme in terms of the actual design stuff, like specific widgets, elements, and then for the vibe that you want to come across, I'll either portray that through colors, rounded edges or not, and font choice. Font choice is a very big thing, I think, if you want to distinguish between like comfy versus, I guess, edgy or clean cut. That's it for me.
Yeah, in general, it's like up to the designer, the assets that they can create, and then trial and error. Trial and error is huge, and I'm so sorry if it's not the answer that it is the best answer, but trial and error is going to happen, and it's all about the designer, what they make, and then the feedback they get from it, and then building from that afterwards. But again, with what they said, designers can offer a lot more than just one thing. They can offer things to promote, the vibe that you'd want to make anyway. So that's, I guess, essentially it. I'm very sorry.
I figured on my
We-
side to sort of add, just like quickly add, you can sort of eliminate the issue by finding a designer that has done multiple teams. So if you find a designer that has maybe like done the tech team or has done like a nature team, so maybe they have done multiple, right? They are much more. How do I say? You can commission them in such a way that they might actually produce the things that you want. So it's best to look at their portfolio and see, oh, they have done this, they have done like tech designs, they have done like nature designs. So perhaps they can, have the ability to combine them together and produce the deliverables that you wish for. Yeah.
Go with who you want and who would fit you the best instead of going for the most popular.
True.
And I guess that's really it for everything. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming today. You're awesome. Sorry for taking up so much time. Once again, this is
I'm
sorry we
Sheena,
talked too
this is
much.
Saki. You wanna wait? Take a photo. Wait, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot.
Yeah, everyone take your photo right now.
Achoo. Wah! Wah! Okay, let me turn on the sound again. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. I forgot that too.
Okay.
So I think we are done. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
we
if
went over time.
I'm not sure if you have any time for like the audience to come in front and then someone takes a photo from for us.
Oh yeah, that's true. Group photo.
Yeah.
Group photo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mm. Oh my god. You look good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
so
you.
cute. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my god. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you for your
Thank
question. Thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
I'm
Thank
still
you.
journey
Take
home
care.
too.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye.
thank you. Let's go to Scarlet.
Let's go Scarlet Board.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.